Welcome to my channel, Camping with Sasquatch. If you haven't seen any of my videos or don't know what my channel is about, I tent camp full-time in areas known for Sasquatch activity. Of course, I can't just camp anywhere, so with each area I visit, I look at Sasquatch reports and then research campgrounds and pick a place to stay. I was recently in East Texas for around a month and then headed to a spot in southeast Oklahoma, stayed there for almost a week, then headed to Florida to be with my dad for his birthday. In Texas, I recorded one of the best tree crashes I've ever captured. As I left Florida, I didn't have a definitive plan. I decided to head west, and as I was traveling along the Panhandle, I started looking for a place to camp. Torreya State Park was on my radar. That's where Stacy Brown got the thermal, I believe with his dad. That was closed. I noticed there were a few recent reports around that area, along with just a bit north in Alabama, and decided to stay at a campground in southern Alabama for a night. That campground actually has a report from about 10 years ago, if I recall correctly. I then headed further north, spent some time in the mountains in Alabama, and then ended up meeting up with Paul of Western Ohio Bigfoot Researchers and Mark of Cedar Creek Bottoms Farmstead Life. It was great to meet up with some others who are into the subject and also somewhat familiar with the area. Okay, here's some of the beginning of my trip to Alabama. Well, I'm now in southern Alabama. I kind of zeroed in on a couple somewhat recent sightings and looked around at the campground, and I'm going to check one out now, so we'll see how that goes. Pretty cool though, never really explored in Alabama before. Alright, I'm on my way out of the first stop in Alabama. This is actually what I was camped next to. Nice little pond. But they did a bunch of burns around here. Quite a few campers. And I don't know, I wasn't really feeling the vibe to go stay here for a few days. So I'm gonna go try another spot. I'm planning on going a little bit north towards the east side of the Talladega Forest. There's a few sightings up there, and there's looks like a couple mountains, technically. I don't know how tall they're gonna be, but that looks like an interesting spot up there. You can see some of the burn right near where I camped. I'm thinking maybe go up to that spot and then perhaps try out Bankhead National Forest. I did see there's going to be a prescribed burn there when I was looking up info. But we'll try it out. If I don't really get the vibe I want to stay at a place, I'll just stay for one night and move on. And if it's a cool place, usually I'll stay for a little bit and check it out. So we'll go check out a little bit more north in Alabama. Yeah, you can see they burnt quite a bit. It looks like both sides were burnt relatively recently. I would think that would keep some of the wildlife away, just since a lot of the vegetation, like the deer feed on, is probably burnt up. I guess there is grass along the road that you can see. I don't know exactly what they eat, but it seems like they sit in pastures and stuff and eat plants. I kind of get the feeling that when there's a burn, the wildlife moves away for a little bit. That'd be my guess anyways. Kind of looks like a big burn way in the distance there. Hopefully that's not where I'm going. I'm still a ways out, so yeah, that's definitely not where I'm headed. Looks like a pretty good fire out there somewhere. And all of a sudden I'm seeing hills up here and starting to head towards northern Alabama. You can see on the map it sort of borders the edge of eastern Tennessee in the northeastern corner. Yeah, I've been off the highway for a little bit and now it's starting to see hills and yeah, pretty good hills straight out there. Fire way out there. Cool up here though. Didn't realize northern Alabama was so much more diverse than down south where it's pretty flat. Well, it's definitely looking more like mountains in the distance. Actually, I think those are about where I'm going. Also looks like a lot of logging is going on up around here. Makes you wonder, I wonder how the Sasquatch are when that happens. Obviously it happens a lot. Wow. A little ways on the last road I was on. Kind of feel like I'm in the mountains a little bit. Now we're going downhill. I don't know if you can tell. Sometimes looking on a video you can't tell, but you can kind of see the silhouettes in the distance of quite a bit of hills out there. Not so much now. Definitely a lot of vast wilderness out there in the distance that I can barely see through the trees. Alabama, wow. How cool, look at that. Straight ahead, kind of over the trees there. Nice. I'm like a mile away from where I'm camping. And I can kind of see that sort of peak that I believe that's what was looking over the trees when we were at a slightly higher vantage point. Pretty freaking cool. I'm going to assume these are technically mountains. I don't know where you go from hills to mountains, but those are a ways up there. I'd say they're enough for mountains. That's sweet. We're coming up to camp here, so like, in other words, we're driving up less than a mile to camp, so we're going to be like right next to that. I'd like to think we can hear some stuff at night from way up there, but that might be too far away to hear stuff. Alright, so I've just unloaded at the campground, and I could see when I was pulling in there's a bit of mountains and stuff around, and I wanted to see if I could check them out. And here they are. You can see them in the distance think you could see them better with the eye than this, but there you go. Look at that. A lot of wilderness out there. So that's what I'm surrounded by. Really hazy that way. I think there was maybe a fire. I could kind of see some haze out in the distance. That could be some smoke out there. Pretty cool. Alright, so I've been in this area for one night. I got here at the end of the day, set up my tent and all that. Now I am just checking out one of the roads in the area. I love this time of year how you can see all the way through. It's not all grown in yet. Got no plan or anything, don't know what I'm gonna do, just play it by ear. Thinking I'll stay here for a few more nights. There's only so much you can expect out of a place in one night, and even 4, you never know, but there's not the best cell signal here. I do like to have service. But yeah, this is what it looks like in the mountains of the Talladega National Forest. Broken tree there. I don't know what might have caused that. Maybe fire, maybe something else. Pretty nice vantage point right here. I'm a little ways up from where I just was. I'm talking kind of loud because of all that wind, but you can see in the distance, there's a peak over there. You can see down a little. Kind of looking out there and realized that would be a good vantage point to see me too. How cool is this? I just didn't know. I didn't know Alabama had stuff like this. So cool. Guessing that they logged or something here. It looks kind of like sort of youngish trees, like they logged it a number of years ago or something. They're all pretty uniform. Quite the vantage point. I can see quite a ways. Not too crazy far, but compared to a normal area, you can pretty much see all around you here. There's not really any underbrush. Catching a little bit of the sunset up here. Look at that, it's just endless. frog just all of a sudden going off, huh? All right, man, can't barely see me there, huh? Well, I'm out. I'm down a road away from people. There's a few people at camp, so and I'm actually hearing some whippoorwills out here, which is cool. At camp is really quiet, so I'm gonna sit out here for a bit and see if we hear anything. Oh, check that out, whippoorwill right there. Looking at the screen. What was that? What was that? Some howls. Check that out. There's some timing. They sound like coyotes. Although, I like to look at coyote calls and owl calls on the spectrogram. I'm not even sure if you can tell the difference with owls, but those are two types of calls that I wonder about. A lot of people say Sasquatch imitate both of those. That was cool, though. I recorded all last night at camp and didn't hear a thing. So, oh, there we go. I don't know why it's barely showing. Cool, maybe I'll get out the recorder while I'm sitting here and just let it go, just in case. Very cool, getting some howls like that. Had a lot of quiet nights at mountains, and you wonder, like, are the howls not really on the mountains? Are they more in like fields and all that stuff, where all the game is? Or I don't know, but just heard some here, so I'm liking it. Are there any forest people here? Can you guys make even just a little noise if you're here? It's like, love to hear you. If you're here. Okay. Thank you if that was you. I heard that. Heading back after listening for a while. Heard a couple howls that I'll have to listen again. They sounded like coyotes. It's always interesting going through these forest roads at night. I love it. Kept bouncing off the car. Where I was camped, you wouldn't have even known. It just looked like it was all cloudy. That is awesome. That is so cool. So I've been doing some research, just kind of looking up Alabama Bigfoot stuff. And there's a lake where I heard there's been a few sightings, and I looked it up and it was pretty close. Just a couple miles away from where I was when I looked it up. So we're gonna go have a look there. Maybe sit there and listen for a little bit, see if we hear anything or whatever. So figured that would be cool. I don't know the area at all, so I'm just kind of playing it by ear. Typically look up videos on YouTube, listen to them, look on the Facebook groups, and just try to figure out where people have experienced stuff. I wouldn't be surprised if they're all over the place here, because it's just endless woods and mountains and stuff like that. Notice that on the side of the road, it really stuck out because it's the light part there looks kind of fresh. Well, the lake was closed. No big deal. Going to a spot I found where there's some internet and it's out in the woods. Crack the windows. A little chilly, so I'm also driving around to warm up. That would have been cool, but no big deal. Well, that place is closed, so I'm just gonna go somewhere else. Not gonna get in trouble out in the middle of Alabama, but I don't think it really matters where you go, even if there's a place that has a few sightings. I think they're probably all around, so just gonna go chill out somewhere else. Man, look at the skyline up here. That's wild. It's so quiet I can practically hear it. Wow. Right next to me now. Oh. Right next to me now. Oh. Just having a look at this. Looks like an arch right here, and then it's kind of odd how just in the background you can see a tree that broke, and then there's a limb going that way, and then right over there there's like one tree there, and then another one leaned up. A new spot in Alabama. I actually met someone here, and also Cedar Creek Bottoms Homestead I met, and this is an area that he's familiar with, and right now I'm just heading out to put a recorder out and hopefully hear some stuff. I'll probably have one also at camp, but I started filming just because I was looking up there thinking that'd be an interesting, just thinking how crazy it would be if I saw one, and figured let's just film anyways. And a little update about where I'm at. I stayed at the last spot for a week or so and didn't really hear much. It's all good though. That's how it goes sometimes. It's pretty noisy there. All right, about in the place where I'm gonna set a recorder out and hopefully hear some cool stuff tonight. I just went and got my recorder. Last night I did a live with Mark at Cedar Creek Bottoms Farmstead Life and Paul of Western Ohio Bigfoot Research. Now I'm just driving back. Figured I'd give you a little look at some of what we've got down here in Alabama. Well, it kind of looks like a arch right there.